All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Today is November 3rd, 2025. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central. Today, we're going to have a bit of a different discussion. We wanted to offer a greater level of understanding and transparency of how the process flow works and what the expected timeline is to go through that process. We're so fortunate to have two new attorneys join the team, Valerie and Monica, and welcome to both of you. And because of their inclusion in the process, it's an opportunity to show you who does what. Now, we have more team members than who are shown here, but these are representing our what we call our client-facing team members. So on an average day, we get, for instance, 75 to 150 pieces of mail. Well, little Sarah that's down in the mail room, she's not on the flow. So there's others that are involved in the process, but not client facing. All right, so we have a bit of a busy slide here, but let's break it down. So we have the title at the top, grant participant process flow and anticipated timeline. Now, what we're referring to are clients that have enrolled in the ESP program, the Entrepreneur Starter Pack program. We've had multiple conversations on that, multiple trainings. You can go to entrepreneurstarterpack.com if you need more information. But that is what we're talking about. We're describing the implementation and timeline for participants in the ESP program. We have our anticipated timeline, and notice it's broken down between phase one and phase two. So phase one is representing the initial agreement, whereby if you're one of our resellers, you're getting the client under contract for the ESP, which is the combination of the Shelf Corp and the 20,000 of QuickCash. Phase one continues on for about a week, and then grant participants normally would then transition out of phase one into phase two, which is our funding portion of the program. So that's maybe one of the most important initial points for you to take away. Each grant participant is involved with either phase one or then subsequently phase two. Furthermore, it's a five-step process to get to the goal. So I know the goal, you know the goal. What clients really want is funding, usually a lot of funding. However, we can't just want that to happen or wish that to happen. We have to qualify. So there are some prerequisites, some steps that need to be completed first, and that would be the steps 1 through 4, which we're going to go through in detail. So yes, 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 I know what people want is step 5, but what we're illustrating is how we get to that point. So, with that being said, we're going to break down each of these steps. Now, in some steps, there's two subcomponents. So, for step one, there's 1A and 1B. The reason that we labeled them that way is that they're so interrelated that one can't happen without the other, but they're technically separate activities. So, hopefully, that makes sense. So, let's start at the top, good place to start. Step 1A. This is where we're setting up the Shelf Corp for the new grant participant. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down who does it, when it happens, and what specifically is going on. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, type into the Q&A and we'll do the best we can to address it. So let's start with the top. Now, if you're a reseller, you're the one that's going out, an ESP reseller, you're the one that's getting the client under contract. We provide you the landing page and the e-contract and the drip marketing, but it's you as the ESP reseller that's educating, generating awareness, getting the client contracted, and then you accept whatever processing fee that you want. So that's all step 0, I guess. But step 1 is now you have a client that you've brought into us. What happens then? Well, I personally am responsible for step 1A. And when it happens is once there's a grant participant that's under contract and payments received. Now, this and is important, right? Because as an ESP reseller, you have a landing page, and that will allow your prospects to enroll, to sign up, to be a grant participant. And so that is the first portion that creates the contractual element between you and them as a reseller. It's a white label, private label approach. Then our system will send you that executed contract. Like many of you woke up this morning, checked your email, and some of you had three, five, seven, as many as nine new clients from yesterday. So the contracts are signed, ready for you to invoice. You collect the money from the client, you share with us our portion of the processing fee. And so that is what triggers step 1A. And then what happens is we're going to then deliver. We're going to deliver the Shelf Corp deliverables, which includes the entity in their name, the business plan in their name, the financials in their name, the EIN in their name, the 20,000 QuickCash. Now we need about 7 days to deliver it. So this here is us starting the process, but we need about 7 days to deliver that, and we'll get back to that down here in a moment. So, does anyone have questions on step 1A? 1A. Okay. So I think we're good there. That kind of makes sense. So that's where the grant participants are coming into the system. Now we're going to go to 1B, which is a related but a separate step. What is it that we need to know other than what you provide us on the client agreement to implement? We need to know what the address that's going to be used for that shelf quote. Well, the good news is we provide a free address. They just pay for the mail forwarding. But we don't know if they want to use our free address that we provide or a different address. So what happens is now we have Madison, who's been with us quite a while. Her role's changing. But then Madison comes in, and Kevin has a question, but you're not asking the question, Kevin. So if you type the question, I could answer it. But just type in the question, Kevin, please. So then, secondly, then Madison's going to pick up that file. That will happen immediately. And she's going to reach out to them and say, hey, we sent you a free lease. The lease meets the lender's underwriting criteria, and it provides us the ability to forward the mail to the grant participant. The participant needs to let us know if they want to use that address, and they need to give us the forwarding address for us to send the mail to. Our mailroom forwards the mail to the grant participants weekly, normally on Wednesdays. So steps 1A and 1B are technically separate, but they're interrelated. We can't deliver all these deliverables from 1A until 1B is resolved because there has to be an address on file with the Secretary of State. There has to be an address listed in the business plan on the EIN and so forth. So steps 1A and B related, they both need to be taken care of. They both start essentially immediately. Does anyone have questions on that? Okay. If you do, just type it into the Q&A. So let's move on to step 2 now. So step 2 is the conclusion of phase 1. So what happens is it comes back to me, and then normally about 1 week, we said we need 7 days. We said a week up here. So normally in about a week, we'll have everything that we owed the client, the deliverables, and we'll be able to send that to the client. And so we will email them the Shelf Corp, what we call Shelf Corp initial documents. And with that, very, very important, and with that will come a 1-page application. This is going to allow them to get their first tranche of financing. So yes, they'll get as described here, they're going to get the 20,000 that we promised them in QuickCash. So the 20,000 QuickCash is going to be delivered normally in 7 days. The Shelf Corp documents will be delivered normally in 7 days. And then if the grant participant wants to move forward with funding, then we'll move forward in the funding process, which is phase two. Now, let's say that the grant participant does phase one, but they don't fill out the application to go into funding, then that's fine. Then they're done. We've completed what we've said. The contract between you and them have been fulfilled, and they can take their shelf corp and do whatever they want. That's very rare, but just trying to clarify that there's a difference between phase one, that contract that you have with them, and phase two, which is attached to the application. ITEA asked, does it cost to get the QuickCash? No, it's all built in. That's the whole concept of the ESP ITEA that we rolled out a couple weeks ago. The 20,000 QuickCash is included for free in the ESP. All right, so now we're done with phase one. Now we're going to go over to phase two. This is under a separate agreement, and this agreement is formalized when they fill out the application. The terms and conditions are attached. Okay? So what happens then? Now comes in Valerie. So Valerie is one of our new team members. She's an attorney. She speaks English, Spanish, and French. A number of you, I think, who was it that had drawing a blank now. One of you had a bunch of Hispanic speaking client. Johnny said that he can bring in 20 clients this week alone just because Valerie has joined the team. So if you have Spanish speaking clients now, we can take care of them. But that's the who. So we're on first tranche funding. So this application was filled out that came with the deliverables. Now we're going to move the client into the funding phase. So once a grant participant completes the application, which was mentioned here, then we're going to be able to generate offers, normally within one business day. So if we get this, for instance, in on Monday, normally they're going to have offers on Tuesday, next business day. So what happens? The grant participant's going to receive those offers via email. They'll be emailed to the client, the grant participant, and then Valerie's going to reach out and work with them to help them receive those offers. Everyone receives at least one offer. Many people receive multiple. This is just the first tranche, though. This isn't the end goal because we've not done some of the things we need to do to prepare the business entity. I'll describe that momentarily. But at this point, everyone receives at least one offer. Most people receive multiple. They can accept as many as they want. The most offers that we've seen one person receive was Bilal. Let's see if he's on today. He's not. He received over 750,000 of first tranche offers, but that's unusual. It's a true example, but it could be over 500,000 of first tranche, could be a lot less. But the bottom line is it is what it is based upon the client's baseline, and everyone, regardless of credit, will get at least one first tranche offer. So it's kind of interesting as we go through this, what you get to see are the different economic triggers. Sometimes people will just cut to the chase. Well, when does the client get funding? When do they get funding? Well, let's call it access to capital. Well, they're getting the quick cash at day 7. We cover that here. And then we're going to get them their first tranche, which is going to be their next point of access to capital right afterwards. So they don't actually just get funding one time, they get it through the steps, the sequence of implementation. All right, so with first tranche of funding, so this is different, not the process, but the player. So Valerie's new. So she started today, and then she'll be working with clients from this point going forward. She may be involved with some of the past clients, but today's day one. So the clients that are filling out the application today, she'll be working with, and then as time allows, she may be working with some from the past. Okay, any questions on that? Um, Johnny's asking about the underwriting. Yeah. So the underwriting of the first tranche is going to take into consideration the baseline credibility of the shelf corp and the business owner. We have not yet built out the shelf corp. We're going to be doing that. I'm going to be describing that momentarily. All right, so now we're to step four. Four has again two components, 4A and 4B. And you could even argue that there's a 4C that's not shown, but we'll get to that in a moment. So for 4A, this is where Madison, so same Madison up here in step 1B, Madison, our funding coordinator, is going to, once the client has received their first tranche, work with them on building out their business credit profile, build out the shelf corp. We're going to get it done. An established three-step process, which we've covered on prior trainings, but step one of that is to help them get their DUNS number. Step two is then we populate that Dun and Bradstreet profile with company information, and we get a D&B credit insight report, which takes us to step three of that three-step process, which is where we're going to add trade lines. We work with each client, decide what type of trade lines they want. We could add company cars, and this is a picture of one of our company cars here. Lamborghini. We can add company cars, credit cards, lines of credit. There's numerous different lines of numerous different trade lines. Some do not require a PG, so some people are real sensitive. Oh, is my personal credit going to matter? Not necessarily. If they don't want to do PG, we don't have to. But the bottom line is Madison will then work with them to get 3 to 4 trade lines added under the EIN to get an 80 paydex score. So that is what's happening in 4A. 4A. Any questions on 4A before I go to 4B? Okay, I think we're doing well. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, type it into the Q&A. So now let's go to 4B. 4B, Monica, who's also on our training this morning, she's also one of our new attorneys that just joined. She serves a different role. So her background is similar in many ways to Valerie, but Valerie is helping with this first tranche of funding. In contrast, Monica is going to be working with the grant participants to liquidate their AR. Now, if you're new to us, maybe that's new terminology. I'll try to give you an introduction, but we've had prior trainings. So this is yet another economic benefit, another point of access to capital. So so we can see for Madison on 4A, she doesn't start working on the business credit profile until the client has their first tranche of funding. Monica does not work with the client until also they've received their first tranche of funding. But what Monica is doing, which is optional, by the way, clients don't have to liquidate if they don't want. What Monica is going to do is help clients, grant participants, liquidate or collect the money that's owed to them. Well, why would they want that? Well, that's going to create deposits, often daily deposits into their shelf corp, make the shelf corp look stronger, show that it's live, show that it has stronger financial statements. So we didn't have Valerie and Monica before today. So this process has evolved a bit because we have these wonderful new team members aboard. Any questions on 4A or 4B? Okay. 4C, which isn't shown, which is also optional, is if the client, the grant participant needs more collateral. So we provide free collateral with the ESP, with the Entrepreneur Starter Pack. If the grant participant should want more or need more, then that would be 4C, again, not shown, where we can transfer additional collateral. And Josh, Josh, Josh actually handles that, but that's optional. It depends upon the client's mitigating circumstances. So it's not always the case. So we didn't put it on here. The rest of these steps are almost always followed. So then that gets us down to the blank check. And when we say blank check, it's not meant to be whimsical. It's meant to suggest we work with each grant participant to determine how much funding do they want, do they need. It's up to them. Now we guarantee a minimum of 100,000. So that's a contractual promise that we make. We guarantee them at least 100,000. So that's the low end. However, a lot of clients want more. They get to determine how much they want when they're going through this process. What we're going to do is we're going to find out from them how much funding they want, what they're going to use it for, which is called the uses of funds, and then we're able to do a lender match to find the right type of funding based upon their wants, needs, and circumstances. So then what we're doing is building out the loan package to qualify legally and ethically to qualify for what that end goal is. So that's how we get to number five. And again, I know in today's society, people are just fine with skipping steps one through four, just get me the money, but that's unrealistic. That's not very sophisticated to think, oh, I can just want 50 million and just get it, or 5 million, or 1 million, or 100,000. We have to qualify for it. So this is a proven legal, ethical process. We back it with a written guarantee that will guarantee every participant will receive at least 100,000. And if you look at it from a broader perspective, you and I, us, we can really change the lives of so many people. This is what's called a disruptive program. What we're doing is taking people that, frankly, right now don't qualify and helping them legally and ethically qualify, and it'll work for anyone as long as they participate. All right, we have 635 of you on today. So, are there any questions that any of you have regarding the process? All right, I see David has a question. So, David's point is a good one that I should have been more clear on. So, this is the process flow and timeline that now that we have Madison in her new role, because she wasn't doing this before, now that we have Valerie, today is her first day, and now that we have Monica, today is her first day, this is the process flow. So there might be some clients, which is David's point, that are already in the system. So we never, ever, ever, we never want a client to say, well, I don't know where I'm at. And that's why we've labeled these steps. If you're a referral partner, or a grant participant, everybody should know what step they're in. Am I in phase one or phase two? I'm in phase two. I've already received the shelf court documents. I received my 20,000. Okay, great. So what step in phase two are you on? Have you received your first tranche of funding? Well, if not, then you're on step three. Oh, no, 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 I received that. Okay, great. Have you worked with Madison to build out your business credit profile? Do you have a PAYDEX of at least 80? No. Well, then you're on step 4A. You need to be working with Madison. Oh, I don't know how to reach Madison. Well, here's the phone number here at the bottom. This is the phone number for our nonprofit. Now, not to complicate things, but Valerie, Monica, and myself actually don't work for the nonprofit. The three of us are with our litigation firm. So the three of us will actually be calling them from a different number. But to keep things simple from a client's perspective, all they need to know is if they need help, call this number and we'll vet through. And if they don't know what step they're in, we'll figure it out. But we're going to get them going through this flow, and they'll be working with different people at different points. So instead of everyone, wanting to set an appointment with me, they don't need to do that. We need to figure out, they need to call in if they need help, call in 24 hours, 7 days a week, call in, and then we will look at their file, determine which step they're in and who needs to follow up with them. It might be that Valerie needs to follow up with them. It might be that it's Madison. Oftentimes it's not me, because you can see that I'm being removed from a lot of this process. Most of my time is going to be spent over on the litigation side, because Monica, who is an attorney, who has lots of experience in collections. She's collecting money for the benefit of the grant participants. Again, that means we're collecting that AR. I'll be spending most of my time at the courthouse litigating to get money for our grant participants from the AR that's transferred. So I'll be much less involved with clients until they get to step five. We have a whole new finance team that came aboard that will be working with them on step five. So we've grown. We appreciate your involvement, and it's awesome to see the team come together. And so, literally, now everyone that'll be client facing with your clients will either be an attorney or at least a paralegal. All right. So, Lamy has a question. What if you want to become an ESP reseller? So again, go to 509pacific.org. You can get set up on that page to participate in the grant and receive funding. You can also go to 509pacific.org and become a reseller. So I think that's your answer. And maybe his question was also, can you be a reseller and a participant? Well, sure, there's nothing that prohibits that. But going to our nonprofit website is where you'll want to go. It's going to provide you access to become a participant and or a reseller. Now, if you become a reseller, you probably won't want to refer your people to our website because you're going to have your own landing page. All of our ESP resellers for free gets a landing page with direct marketing, the e-contract. We even give free leads. We have so many leads coming in. We need help with more of you that are willing to talk to these individuals and help educate them. But separate topic there. Johnny's asking about getting a copy of the flow chart. Yep, we'll send it out to everyone. Who else has any questions? We try to keep our morning Zoom to 30 minutes or less. We're almost at that point. Are there other questions about this? All right, Amanda brings up a great point, and she hits the nail on the head, as she usually does. Amanda's clarifying that as an ESP reseller, she can use this same flyer and educate people on the process flow, but she is not, you are not, if you're an ESP reseller, you're not do you see your name anywhere on the who's? If you look on here, do you see your name anywhere on here? No, you are not responsible for implementation. We are. So, as a reseller, you go out and you educate, you bring clients into the system, you get paid on the front end how much you want, you get paid 5% on the back end of their capital raise, averaging about 50,000 because the average capital raise now is a million, but you have no implementation responsibilities. Some of you have a kind of a unique approach. You want to really kind of wiggle your way into being the middleman. Well, let's break that down. So, for the first agreement, phase one, there's not much for you to do, right? As long as you bring the client in and forward our part of the payment, we need, other than Madison working with them to get the mail forwarding, the lease set up, there's nothing you need to do. We just need to give it about 7 days so we can go deliver everything to the client. So I don't even know what you would do if you wanted to be helpful because just make sure they talk to Madison and get the address worked out. Phase two is not under your contract, it's under the separate contract, what we call access to capital, where we're going for funding, and it's triggered once the initial shelf corp has been delivered. When we deliver the initial shelf corp documents, that same email has the application to go into funding. At this point, then we're into phase two. You're not trained on phase two. You're not supported on phase two as a reseller. It's not your gig. Of course, you want your clients, your grant participants to be successful so they get what they want and you get paid your 5 points in the back end. But the more you're involved down here in phase two, typically the less satisfied that your clients, the grant participants, will be because you're kind of wiggling your way in. Now, you might say, well, my clients just want me to handle it all for them. Well, that's fine. Then you would be interfacing with Valerie on step three. You would be interfacing with Madison on step four. And then if you want us to liquidate the AR of your clients of the grant participants, you'd be working with Monica on step 4B. Good point there. But really, the point I think Amanda was making is it's simple to be an ESP reseller. Go out and educate and enroll and get paid. Those are the three things. Educate people, enroll them in the shelf corp, and get paid. Because some of you're like, well, I need to know more about how Monica is liquidating the AR. Do you? Do you really need to know that, or is that ancillary information that's not really within your scope? Now, again, we're going to continue to be very transparent and help you understand the process, but this system is not meant to create expertise for each of you as a reseller if you are one on phase two. You do need to understand phase one because that's the contract that you're signing with the client that they're paying you for. But we take care of all the implementation. All right, I see Charles want to talk about the timeline. So day zero is when you're getting the client under contract. Day one is when they start on our radar, which means that we have received our portion of the payment for the ESP. Because you set how much you want the processing fee to be. Anything above 1,000 is your profit. And so then both this and this is normally happening within the first couple of days. We need 7 days to get the shelf corp documents. Now, notice that 7 days is once we know what business address. We've had people that wouldn't respond to Madison, and she's trying to figure out what address do you want to use? What address do you want to use? What address do you want to use? Do you want to use our free address? And they don't answer. So just note this 7 days can be pushed back if the participant's not engaged, but normally that's not an issue. So then Valerie will start to work with them normally within the beginning of that second week, normally around day 8. And she's going to work with them. No one else is going to work with them during this phase. So let's say that the client picked up the phone and they called me. Nope, nope, you need to talk to Valerie. Valerie is managing your file until this step is done. Until this step is done, we do not work on building business credit profile. We don't do other services. We're going to follow in order. So it's steps and progression. So that way we can all be clear. Where is the client? What are they doing? What's the next step? But the end goal, I know, you know, and I know, it's to get them funding. But these are the steps that if we follow, we know it works and we can guarantee, in writing, guarantee that they'll have a successful capital raise. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Gilbert's asking about the support text line. We're going to abandon the text support line in general, and instead, we're just going to go for straight phone calls. If you have a question, call the number. We have a team that answers the phone, but it could be that they're all busy. That will happen. Leave a message. It's interesting to me. Some people will call because we see the reports and they don't leave a message. And then they're all like fucking agitated. Well, no one called me back. If it's a missed call, our protocol is not to call them back. We figure maybe it was a mistake, but leave a message. The more detailed the message, the better. And then that will let us know who do we need to have call that client back. Is it Madison because it's regarding the lease? Is it me because of the initial documents? Is it Valerie because they need help with their first tranche? Is it Madison because they need help building out their business credit profile? Is it Monica because we're liquidating the AR? Or is it our funding team, our finance team, because now we're down to step 5? So focus on that number, call it. Will it always be answered live? No, no. But we'll do the best to answer it live. But if not, just leave a detailed message and then we can get the right point person to get back with the client or with yourself. All right. Well, thanks everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Have a great day and let us know if we can do anything for you. Bye bye.